Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I am in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and for me now it is early afternoon. Okay, so today's video, I want to revisit the death penalty argument because this seems to be a never ending story. Okay, so for those of you who follow me, I know who that is, but anyway, I did a video before about the death penalty, and in that one, I spoke more about what it actually is and then why people are for it and why people are against it. And I laid out my case about it. Okay, but so today I want to, so if you watch that video, this is a continuation. So today I want to focus on this particular aspect about the death penalty. Why people can be living in the same community, they might have been brought up in the same community, they went to the same school, they attended the same religious establishments, they're from the same social status background, and yet they so different. Their opinions regarding the death penalty is so different. Okay, and then what I want to do, so today especially, I want to focus on the aspect of belief. Because belief, what we believe, whether it's from a religious point of view or secular point of view, whatever we believe forms a very, very, very big part of how we respond to things, our behavior, and our actions. Okay, so as usual, I've got notes here, so I have to read the notes, and sometimes I can't even read my own notes. But we'll go with the flow. So the belief systems I want to concentrate on today, because these are the only ones that I like kind of have an idea of. So if I'm wrong about certain things, please feel free to put your comments down below so that we can have a discussion. Okay, so the beliefs systems I'm going to focus on are Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, and then the secular belief. Okay? Because, of course, when you come from all these different belief systems, it's going to shape how you form your opinion regarding the death penalty. But what I find interesting is that, like I said before, although we might be from the same belief system, it's amazing how we still have different opinions regarding this, because it's the way we interpret our belief systems. Okay, so the first belief system I want to talk about is Buddhism. So Buddhism, the first precept is to abstain from injuring or killing another being, a sentient being. So that means Buddhism, as it is against the death penalty. And it's an action, even if it brings benefit to oneself, cannot be considered a good action if it causes physical and mental pain to another being. Okay, so that's very clear then that the death penalty is not supported because it's bringing physical and mental pain to another being. It's not saying anything about what the being has done or not. It's bringing physical pain. Okay, so this would be what death penalty opponents who are of the Buddhist faith will believe and support. So they will be totally against the death penalty. But then, quite amazingly, On the other hand, okay, sorry, one more thing. Also in Buddhism, people believe in karmic debt. So they leave it up to karma to decide what must happen to that person who has done the bad deed. Okay, so we all understand how karma works. So this is what they believe. That is why they are opponents of the death penalty. Let karma sort it out. But then you have, from the same belief system, people who then look at it in a different way, because for them it's like the death penalty is the karmic debt that they have to pay. So they support it. You see there? Which also makes sense, because that is the debt. Okay, so now we get to Hinduism. Now, Hinduism, there is the ahimsa, which is, it propagates non-violence, which then means it does not support the death penalty, because the death penalty is a violent act. And it's a violent act because it is the killing of another human being. And then there's also the other thing, the second thing, which is they also believe in the karmic debt, which will ensure suitable punishment. So again, Hinduism does not believe in the death penalty. It is anti the death penalty. So that is why a lot of Hindus will be opponents of the death penalty. But yet again, on the other hand, you will find the proponents. And the reason for this is because there is also the Mahabharata and Ramayana, which both support capital punishment. And many Hindus, because they believe capital punishment can form a part of ahimsa, which is that it protects innocent people from criminal violence. So they support the death penalty, because innocent people are being protected from this violent person. So this is just how people interpret things. It's the same belief system, but the interpretation is so different. On the one side, you have ahimsa, which is just, we do not support violence at all, full stop. And the karmic debt will determine the suitable punishment. And on the other hand, we have other schools of thought where they use the same argument of ahimsa to show that it protects innocent people. So that is Hinduism. The next belief system I want to cover is Islam. Now, Islam is very straightforward. Death penalty, proponents of it. Everybody. I have not met one Muslim that is, or even school of thought that is against the death penalty, because it is in the belief system, it is in the Quran, because you have Sharia law, so you have the law of Qisas, you have the hudud, you have the tazir crimes. So, because their belief system is an eye for an eye, very straightforward. You do something, you have to pay for it. End of story. So that one is quite simple. Okay, Judaism, again, like Islam, because Judaism is, the Torah is based on the Old Testament, where there's the eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and all that type of thing, the law of retaliation. So the majority of Jewish people will support the death penalty because it is in line with that part of the scripture. So again, with them, they will be proponents of the death penalty, because this is what the faith dictates. The Christian belief is the belief in forgiveness, because Jesus Christ, even when he was hanging on the cross, he said, Father, Forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And Jesus had already sacrificed his life for all sinners. So Christians will be totally opposed to the death penalty. Also because only God has the right over who lives and who dies. Because God is the God of punishment, vengeance, and judgment, not us humans. Because when Christians take that into their own hands, they are taking the power away from God. And God is the most powerful, so you cannot do that. So Christians are opponents of any form of violence, because again, because Christians are followers of Christ, Jesus is non-violent. And in scripture, Jesus said things like, if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, then also give them the other cheek to slap. There is no retaliation. So retaliation, because that is what the death penalty is, it's a retaliation. So retaliation is not a Christian concept. The other thing that Jesus said is, only if your slate is clean, then you can cast the first stone. So if you have no sin, go ahead and mete out the death penalty punishment. Of course, as we know, the only people who have no sin are babies and the mentally handicapped, the mentally challenged people. So they can support the death penalty, but do they even know what the death penalty is? No. So that argument does not hold, okay? That is the concept and the belief of the Christians regarding the death penalty. But you can find that there will still be Christians who forget that they are Christians, so they focus on the Old Testament, which is the Mosaic law, and not the Messianic law, which is about an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. So they will be similar to the Muslims and the Jews that still believe that humans have the right over life and death and not God. And then some of them will take their belief also from the New Testament, because Jesus did say, if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. So they interpret this as, if you lived a life of crime, the death penalty is going to kill you, because if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So this is also a good point, because Jesus could have just been saying that if you're going to do this, people are going to kill you. But of course, you see, the people who kill you are not Christians. They will not be Christians, because Christians don't believe that they have the right to take the life of another. So when you look at the differences between the Christians, it's not even an argument about being against or for the death penalty. The problem lies in the understanding of Christianity. So if you look at this based on all the other belief systems, it's a different issue here. Okay, now we get to the last one, which is the secular belief system. So with the secular belief system, you're going to get the proponents, because the secular system is normally, it's supposed to be, or they claim to be, that it's always very logical. It's not emotional. It has to be logical. So because it's logical, you cannot support retaliation and vengeance, because retaliation and vengeance is emotional. It's not logical. So that would be the first thing. The other argument they would put forth is that, contrary to popular belief, it is not a deterrent, because if you look at statistics in countries where they have the death penalty and countries where they don't have the death penalty, it seems that the ones where there is a death penalty, the crime rate is higher than in the countries where there is no death penalty. So this is the argument that they will put forth. Also, in a civilized society, violence is not condoned, and violence from the top down is not condoned. From the leader of the country, government, right down, no one has the right over life and death. Also, you cannot give the state the power over life and death, especially when we know that the state can be corrupt. And most states, as we know, are corrupt. And then also the state has to set the example of a violent culture. They have to be the first entity that has to propagate this culture. But if they're propagating a violent culture, then violence is going to be in the nation. Because also the secular argument is that in a civilized modern society, violence is not condoned. The secular opponents of the death penalty, they would be more interested in restorative justice rather than retributive justice, and in prison reform. Okay, because the proponents, what they would be advocating for is justice for the victim, which justice for the victim is a form of retribution. Retribution is a form of revenge. So this is the difference. This is the difference in the secular groups. The opponents, they don't want the vengeance. The proponents do. The other reason they would support the death penalty is because they don't want these kind of people in the society, these kind of criminals, because these kind of people are normally like murderers, rapists, pedophiles, in some countries drug traffickers, drug mules, anyone with drugs. And then of course they just don't want these type of people in the society, which is fair enough. So now I want to talk about like my personal viewpoint regarding this, because I did the last video and I can't remember, but I think I did give my view. But you know, now that I've been talking to a lot of people, and I like to look at things from different perspectives and people with different points of views and different experiences and etc. So my viewpoint with the death penalty, first of all, I'm a follower of Christ. And then also I'm a very logical person, so I also believe in secular law. I can separate the two. Okay? So my viewpoint would be, as a follower of Christ, of course, I am totally against the death penalty. For all the reasons as stated in the New Testament, okay? Which I don't have to go over, because if you want to know, you can go read the New Testament. And also, I think because of the type of person I am, I don't want anybody to die. I just want everybody to live. Doesn't matter how bad you are, how good you are, or I just want everybody to live. Okay, but that's just my character. Okay, but then from a secular point of view, I would still be an opponent, because logically it is not a deterrent, because like I said before, and like other people say, statistics have proven that. So there's no logic in doing it. The fact that we cannot give the state so much power over life and death, that is also a very logical point. Logical and sane and safe, because when the state has too much power, it becomes very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. But let's just say, for argument's sake, like in which case would I support it? So I thought about this for a while, and this is the situation that has to happen in order for me to support it. I will support the death penalty if one, it's as a deterrent and as an act of vengeance or justice for the victim. Okay, so let me first get to the deterrent. As a deterrent, I would support it if the execution is made public. It is in a public space where it is open for everybody from all walks of life and all ages to witness it, if they are able to witness it. Because when it's behind closed doors, how can it be a deterrent? Because nobody even knows how it really happens. You are not there. The emotion that is invested when you are there is not the same. So I would prefer it then to be, not prefer, but in order for me to accept it, I would want it, to accept the deterrent argument, I would want it to be done in public. Okay? Like it used to be in the old days. When it comes to the justice for the victim, revenge for the victim. So the justice for the victim, okay, if in some way, when that person dies, the victim can just come back to life miraculously, I would be like full on support for that. Obviously that can't happen, so I cannot support that part of it. But I understand that people want revenge because they are hurting. They want that revenge. I can understand that because it's a human emotion and not everybody can control it. I would support it if those who are really affected by it, which would be family, the real loved ones of the victim, and maybe some members in the community, like the friends and the relatives of the victim. I would support it if these people could mete out the punishment. Not the government and an executioner that has nothing to do with them, some random person who just does it as a job. No, they themselves must mete out the punishment. And they themselves have to choose the method of execution. So whether it's by stoning or shooting, drowning, burning on a stake, rolling them in a carpet and letting 100,000 horses run over them, throwing them down the cliff, whatever it is, smothering them with a pillow, whatever the method of killing this person is, they themselves have to do it. Of course, the justice system can have a framework on each execution, on how it must be organized, so they can just oversee that it is done properly. But those who want the revenge, they have to mete out the punishment themselves. And it must be done in public so that we all can see. Because this would kill 3 birds with 1 stone. It would kill the victim, the perpetrator, the criminal. It would, the vengeance factor is in there, and then also the deterrent. Now, if it's like this, I can see the logic in that. But the way it is done at the moment does not make sense to me. Not at all. Anyway, that's just my opinion about this. If anyone wants to add something, feel free to do so. Give me your opinions on what you think. It's a good discussion, I think, because it's ongoing. There's still countries in the world that have the death penalty and that want it. So let me know your opinions, okay? So thank you and cheers.